Pitch it up, my selector.
Due to some violent content, parental discretion is advised.
I know you gonna dig this.
Happy Saturday, everyone. Happy Saturday. Amilcar's ready. Joe is ready. Is Harlam Eubank ready? That's the big question for today. I've started to really look forward to this fight. I think it's going to be a really good fight. I've enjoyed the media stuff that Matchroom has put together around this fight. But before we get to this fight, Joe, we weren't on air last week. I was traveling to Quebec, north of New York State, the French-speaking nation within Canada, capital city, Quebec City, Quebec. I went there to see Christian and Billy take on Sulecki. It was a devastating first-round KO. The undercard was pretty good too. I got to see a few prospects. I have the Tiger prospects. John Orobio, Tigre Orobio was very impressive, as was Wilkins Mathieu, very impressive. We also saw the return of Arslanbek Makhmudov, the big heavyweight, who obviously lost his undefeated record to Ajit Kabayel in what was considered kind of an upset at the time, at least the way it occurred. He scored a devastating first-round KO in his win over Ricardo Brown. It was a solid card overall, Joe. I'd like you to talk to me real quick about your thoughts on Christian Mbili, who became the WBC interim title. And what do you think is next for him? Because I don't know if we're realistically going to get him in the ring with Canelo, who's the undisputed champion, should he beat Crawford. What were your thoughts on the win over Sulecki, and what do you think is next for Mbili? Joe, go for it.
That was a destruction, and it was an extremely impressive victory. You can say, okay, he was supposed to win that fight, but was he really supposed to win that fight in that fashion? Who's ever done that to Sulecki? Sulecki is a very formidable opponent. He's a solid pro. He's not an easy out for anyone. Now, he's lost some fights, right? But he's a contender. He's a legitimate challenge to anybody on any given night. He could upset the apple cart. Christian Mbili, we've been talking about him for a long time. This is a man who has been in the mix for a while now, right? He has a very dynamic style. He's an explosive guy. He can punch. He's very athletic, right? He's an aggressive guy, right? His defense is his offense because he just applies pressure. He gets in his opponent's chest, and he doesn't let up. And there have been questions about his stamina, but from what I've seen, he does get his second wind and finishes fights strong. But in this case, none of that mattered. So are the doors going to be banged upon and broken down to fight this guy? Absolutely not. But to his credit, he is making a name for himself in Canada. Obviously, he's well known there, but he just doesn't have that global appeal, that crossover appeal. So the chances of him ever getting a Canelo fight, he's going to have to be put in a mandatory position, and the fight's going to actually have to be ordered for Canelo to face somebody like this guy, because this guy is too much risk for too little reward. So
Yeah,
that's why he's going to be left on the sidelines. But he does have a good promoter behind him, right? What is he? He's affiliated with Eye of the
I have
Tiger.
the Tiger and Top Rank.
Yeah, so
I have
that's
the Tiger
so
and
that
Top Rank.
so that's a feather in his cap. But once again, it's going to be hard for him to get that big marquee fight, because there's going to be easier challenges out there for fighters the likes of Canelo, where they can make just as much, if not probably significantly more money fighting someone else than fighting him.
I see two problems for Mbili. Problem number one is the WBC. Notoriously, the WBC pacifies top contenders with an interim title while they allow the main champion to essentially do whatever they want. I remember they introduced the franchise title, and then I don't know whatever happened to that. And now we're back to giving guys interim belts while the main champion continues on and does whatever he wants. I know how frustrated you were, especially communicating online with Canelo fans when Benavidez was holding on to the WBC interim title. We saw similar things in other weight classes as well. We even saw it in the heavyweight division for a while when Dillian White was a number one contender and then became an interim champion and waited what seemed like ages to get a shot at the full WBC title. So problem number one for Mbili, I think, is the WBC. Problem number two is he's already been avoided. I want to share this real quick. This was at the post-fight press conference where I asked Camille Estefan, head of Eye of the Tiger management, about getting Diego Pacheco as potentially an opponent, because I honestly don't see Canelo fighting in Billy right away. But this was the response. It's have a look. Let's have a listen. Here we go. Oh, gotta put the mute off. There we go.
Fighters, we saw what happened to Caleb Plant, but Diego Pacheco's still out there. You mentioned
Pacheco's
Canelo.
running. He's been running for a long time.
Yeah.
Where is he? Finally, let's talk. Who else?
I mean, that's it. It's Canelo. It's Christian. It's Pacheco, and that's pretty much it. Right?
Forget about Pacheco.
Yeah.
He won't fight.
He was supposed to be here tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So they turned down an offer to fight in Quebec,
Of course.
and they didn't make an offer for you to fight in California.
Offer with S, multiple.
Officer, okay.
So as you can see there, Joe, they're a little bit annoyed. I wouldn't say they were upset with me, but they don't even want to talk about Diego Pacheco at this point.
No, they were frustrated. They
Yeah.
were frustrated because I'm sure they've reached
Yeah.
out, like I said, to several opponents, but once again, too much risk and not enough reward. It's that simple, in my opinion. I think the circumstantial evidence shows that by the reaction of every time you mentioned somebody of significance, they told you, we tried, but they didn't want it.
Multiple offers with an S, he said. And it's very rare to hear Mark Ramsey chime in. Mark Ramsey's a kind of quiet trainer. He avoids the spotlight. I've been to multiple press conferences where you got to like pull him in to try to get an interview out of him. It's not because he's disrespectful. I just think he's kind of an introverted guy. He's actually very respectful. But to get him to say it was supposed to be Pacheco here tonight, it just shows you how much they tried to get the Pacheco fight. So I heard it's rumored potentially that Mbili might be taking on Lester Martinez, who's undefeated, has been fighting on Pro Box, Guatemalan fighter. That would be an all-action fight because Lester's a very exciting fighter. So we'll see what happens with that. I do got to say one last thing. Team Batman is chiming in here. Plenty saying Mbili ducked the Sajo fight for the Battle of France. But I feel Mbili would definitely win that, but good name and big fight in a few regions. The thing with the fight in France is Lele Sajo's promoter didn't get the money together, and they kept asking for extensions. So they put the deposit down. But you've seen this before in boxing too, Joe, where a promoter that you haven't really heard of before kind of puts down a deposit, and then when it comes time to go into the stage 2, they don't get their money together. And I agree with Eye of the Tiger pulling and Billy out. They don't have time to waste. They want to keep their charge moving. Go for it, Joe.
I'm going to say something to you that may make you happy,
Yeah.
and part of it's going to upset you, because you were partly right about one thing, and I was partly right about this one thing too. So let me jump into it. This is why you got to love the UFC and Dana White, the best combat sports promoter of all time, because he told John Jones he wanted the fight with Tom Aspinall, right?
Yeah.
He pushed for that fight, and John Jones did not want that fight. He wanted another fight, and Dana White was not going to give him another fight. You either fight Tom Aspinall or you walk away and retire. So what happened? You said that fight would never happen. I told you it would happen. You were right about that. But give Dana White credit, because he held true to what he wanted to do. He held true to his beliefs and what he thought should have happened. And he would not give John Jones another fight outside of the Tom Aspinall fight. So that's what it's about. You either pass the torch, you allow the secession, if that be the case, to go forth, or you bow out and you walk away. Not like what's happening with Canelo, where all these sanctioning bodies are pacifying him because they want the sanctioning fee.
They're enabling him.
But Dana White is not enabling. He's doing what's best. Dana White's doing what's best for the sport.
Canelo's got the Ferrari. He's the teenage kid with the Ferrari, and daddy's coming and giving him the credit card to gas up the tank. You know, he might crash it a couple times. You know, they're always there to repair it. He's definitely being enabled by these sanctioning bodies. That's
I'm glad
for sure.
You're finally acknowledging how great of a combat sports promoter Dana White is.
No.
He would not settle for a secondary fight.
Dana White is a great capitalist. There's no doubt about that.
He's a great capitalist too, by putting out this content.
I'm not a capitalist. I'm a worker. I sell my labor. I don't buy my labor. And
You're a great capitalist by putting out this video and showing everyone how great you are in terms of the boxing.
I'm an entrepreneur. I don't hire workers.
That's right.
I don't own other people's labor.
You are a free market capitalist just by the sheer will of putting forth this video.
Clear, I would love an economy where the workers own the majority of the wealth that they produce. So give me 51%. Like, I love the boxing. I've
already given you 51% of Beeb Industries. You are a capitalist.
I would love the UFC. I would love the UFC fighters to get what boxers get. 70%, right? They get the majority. They're in a partnership relationship with the promoters, whereas in the UFC, it's clear worker being subjugated by the big boss Dana. Anyways, that's enough of that. Sucker punch, everybody. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Make sure you hit the notification bell. Invite people over to the party. Invite people over to the discussion, because we are about to talk about a fight that I think, Joe, probably deserves a little bit more attention than it's been getting, especially here in the United States. I understand it's not for a title, right? I understand it's not Chris Eubank Jr., that it's Harlam Eubank, but I have become very interested and excited by this fight over the past couple of weeks. Matchroom put together some content that I thought was top tier work to promote this fight and to publicize this fight. I think this is a really good matchup, because you've got Jack Catterall coming off of the loss to Arnold Barboza, taking on an undefeated Harlam Eubank, who has been steadily improving, I would argue, throughout the past few years, and has become I would consider him to be a contender in the 140-pound division. And you know what was worse for Jack Catterall, in my opinion, Joe, than his last fight? Arnold Barboza's last fight. Talk to me. What are your thoughts? Go for it.
That loss against Arnold Barboza for Jack Catterall didn't age well, and it probably won't age well, right? Jack Catterall, I thought I was shocked that he lost to Arnold Barboza. I thought he had the style to beat him. A big problem with Jack Catterall is I think he's starting to decline just a tad. I don't think he's at his peak anymore. He's still very good, still very formidable. But even against Josh Taylor, right? The second fight, he showed some signs of slippage there because I thought that he beat Josh Taylor 8-4, but he had some rough spots there. It looked like he had control of the fight for virtually the first half of it, and he started to lose a little bit of control towards the end and let Josh Taylor get back in it a little bit. He's in there with the guy Harlam Eubank, who, okay, you can argue hasn't really fought the creme de la creme in the division, but if you watch him, you're just seeing that he's doing what he's supposed to do. If you look, give him the eye test. This is another guy, just like his cousin Chris Eubank Jr. Obviously not to the same level, but you're seeing just the natural athletic ability, the quickness, the explosiveness. Doesn't have a lot of knockouts, but if you look in his recent fights, he's starting to put guys away now. He's starting to step on the gas a little bit and trying to make a statement in these fights. So if you just look at this guy, you could see quick feet, quick hands, moves in and out very well. Kind of has like a somewhat of an ambush style where he's going in and out, throwing flurries, throwing combinations, and he has a style that could present problems for Jack Catterall, who loves to just fight in spurts. I believe Harlam Eubank has the ability to outwork Jack Catterall because, again, Jack Catterall does not fight the full 3 minutes of the round, right? And there's times when he just is complacent in there, and he's happy to just stay on the outside and probe a little bit and try to suck his opponent into counter punches. But once again, that hasn't worked for him, and it didn't work for him in his last fight because he had a hard time dealing with Arnold Barboza's volume. And you're going to have a guy in Harlam Eubank who obviously doesn't have the same experience as an Arnold Barboza, hasn't fought the same level of opposition, but I would argue is physically more talented in terms of natural abilities.
He seems to be a superior, like, natural athlete.
Correct.
To both of those.
So
both fighters.
If you're gonna wait on a guy who's quick, who's somewhat explosive, you're gonna have a hard. If you had a hard time timing Arnold Barboza, who's a slower guy, then how are you going to deal with a Harlam Eubank, who in my opinion, but I believe is much quicker than Arnold Barboza? So, it's crazy because if you look at the odds, let me just pull them up real quick. If you look at the odds, Harlam Eubank is a plus 225. Jack Catterall is a minus 300. So Catterall is like a little over, close to like a 2.5 to 1 favorite here. I think Harlam Eubank is very live in this fight. I'm actually picking Harlam Eubank to win this fight. I think this is a crossover fight to see if Harlam Eubank belongs and if Jack Catterall still should stay in the mix. So this is definitely a crossroads fight. And I think that this, Jack Catterall is going to have a hard time dealing with the speed, quickness, and explosiveness of Harlam Eubank here. Just my opinion.
I agree with you. And like I said, that fight with Arnold Barboza did not age very well.
No, it didn't. Did not.
Arnold Barboza isn't necessarily a Rubik's Cube in there in terms of his style and in terms of the things he was doing. And I don't know. If you struggled that much with Arnold Barboza, especially when we saw what a highly motivated Arnold Barboza was capable of against Teofimo Lopez, another quick, twitchy kind of athletic guy. I mean, I don't think you would have gotten a more motivated Arnold Barboza than that guy, and that guy got absolutely dominated by Teofimo in a way that Teofimo hasn't really dominated anybody in recent memory. Like, you go through Teofimo's wins recently, let's just face facts. They weren't that impressive. He wasn't impressive against Claggett. He wasn't impressive against my man over there from New England, the technician, Jermaine Ortiz. Right? He wasn't that impressive against Sandro Martin. He was super impressive against Arnold Barbosa. Jack Catterall wasn't. And Harlam Eubank, he may have not been getting all of the big promotional big ticket fight events on the zone in that we've been seeing other fighters get, but he's been applying his trade. He's been doing his improvements in there in the ring, fight after fight, and we've now seen a Harlam Eubank, dare I say, kind of emerging out of the shadow of Chris Eubank Jr., like his older cousin. I'm hearing less and less people referring to Chris when they discuss Harlam Eubank. It's now becoming more about Harlam Eubank, and I think that if he wins tonight, and I'm actually with you, Joe, I think he's going to beat Jack Catterall. It's going to be just people looking at it as Harlam Eubank moving forward. Speaking of which, I've got Harlam Eubank here discussing this fight. Let's have a look. Let's have a listen. This is Harlam Eubank this week out there in the UK. Here we go.
And this will be another occasion.
Go from the beginning.
I'm ready, more than ready. Sam said what he said, but he's got it wrong over and over again. And this will be another occasion to add to that list. I've been training behind the scenes for 11 years, working on the art form, and I believe that I'm ready to go in there and show the world what I'm capable of up at world level. I believe that this.
So we asked the question, Joe, is he ready? He says he's ready. I think that's the question a lot of people are questioning. Because at this point, I know this is going to be harsh, and a lot of people are going to consider this to be harsh. Catterall's out there saying that he only took this fight because of Chris Eubank's name. That's what he told him when they faced off after the weigh-in. Sorry, Harlam Eubank's name. I just did it. But he is coming off of a loss, and this kind of fight, to me, when you're coming off of a loss, when you're someone who's fought for a world title, so you fought at that level, you didn't win officially, but you fought at that level, and then you lost an interim fight against an Arnold Barbosa, and then coming off of a loss, you're taking on an undefeated guy who's trying to break through to that championship level. I mean, it is kind of a definition of a gatekeeper, if you think about it. He's been at the gates. He's at the front of the gates. Harlam Eubank is knocking on the gates. And Catterall right now is that gatekeeper. Now, can he go back to a contender if he beats Harlam Eubank? Yes. But should he lose to Harlam Eubank, I think Jack Catterall will cement himself with this fight in the mold of a gatekeeper. What are your thoughts on that, Joe? Is that too harsh?
I understand the argument.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you're 100% wrong here, but I won't fully commit to that. But it would be leading in that direction, to be fair. How's that? I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I know you're like ringside Robbie. You're quick to retire guys, telling them to find something else to do. You're the dream killer. Sometimes.
No, I'm not saying that he'll have to find something else to do.
You're a great capitalist, but sometimes you're not inspiring to other capitalists out there trying to make a living.
I'm an entrepreneur.
Sell their labor to others. But I don't know. You do make a great point. You do make a great point that's valid.
That's my definition of a gatekeeper, like someone who's fought for a title or even is a former world champion. I'll give you another example. I mean, no disrespect by this, but in the last few years, Jose Pedraza has taken on the role of a gatekeeper. He's the guy who's been at the top, fought for a title, even won a title, but now is there to test guys that want to see if they can get past those gates. So
He's
he's
a litmus
standing at
test
the
for up
gate,
and comers. He's a
right?
litmus test for up and coming prospects.
Yes,
Correct.
and
I agree with that.
I think that's how Harlam Eubank is looking at this fight. It's like, yeah, this is a guy who fought for a world title. This is a guy who many people thought won a world title against Josh Taylor. I didn't think he won, but a lot of people thought he won. I get that, and people are like, how could you say that, Maestro? Are you blind? Were you on drugs? No, I wasn't. I just thought he won, and I thought Jack Taylor won, and so did. Not that I'm appealing to authority here, but so did Andre Ward. So it's not like I'm the only one out there who thought that Jack Catterall didn't win that fight, and Josh Taylor won the fight. But like I said, Harlam Eubank's going to be looking at this as, if I want to get to that next level, if I want to fight for world titles against the likes of Puejo or Gary Antoine Russell or Teofimo Lopez or Richardson Hitchens, whoever at 140, right? The titleist. I got to be able to get past Jack Catterall.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, Harlam Eubank's young enough where even if he does lose, you could say that he has time to rebuild. But this will definitely be a blow to him in the short term, where where it's going to set him back a bit, right? It's going to set him back a bit, and he's going to have to fight his way back into the mix if he does lose to Jack Catterall. There's no question about it. There's no question about it. It would be a setback. Definitely be a decent setback for him, and especially in today's climate of boxing, where one loss, when you lose in this sport, one loss, really, with the perception of fans, and not even only fans, in most cases, the sanctioning bodies, one loss can really be detrimental to you. Whether or not that should be the case. Yeah, whether or not that should be the case, whether or not that should be the case or not, whether it's fair or not, it doesn't matter, because that's just how it's perceived in boxing, and that's just how the sanctioning bodies look at fighters who lose.
Yeah, so Joe, you don't have to worry about this one. It's not from DAZN.
Did you pass this through the producers?
Yeah, we're
right.
good. We're good. We're
We'll
good
give
on
you
that.
we'll give it to you.
Matchroom doesn't operate like DAZN does. So I just want to share a little bit of this. This was a few weeks ago. We got Catterall here. We've got Chris Eubank. I keep saying it. I keep doing it. Sorry, Harlam. It's Harlam Eubank. My mind is so programmed to say Chris. I apologize, Harlam. Talking about it, here we go.
I believe I'm world class. Be anything other than stupid to believe I'm not world class. The fight makes sense. Let's get it on.
I want to fight the best. I need to beat you to go on to achieve world honours as well. This is my opportunity to prove all the doubters wrong.
Lick him up.
Maybe he'll be shouting lick him up on the night, but we'll have to see and see what he has in his locker come fight night.
This is it's a big opportunity, and coming back off a defeat, the fact that I've been given an opportunity to fight in Manchester, again headlining with a Eubank, is a big moment. It's a great domestic fight, and I think these are the fights that excite me the most. So it means everything, and it always will.
I think the public have been calling for big domestic fights like these. I think the public have been starved of these type of matchups. So I'm excited to deliver a beautiful fight.
Yeah, I've said that before.
So there you go. I do want to touch on that real quick, Joe. We see both guys are relatively respectful. Both guys understand what this fight means for each of them. But it's something that I do feel. I know we love this side of the world, this side of the pond. I know we love North America, the United States. We love boxing over here, but I think that we would benefit a lot from having like more of these domestic matchups being promoted, being given the backing, the push that Matchroom and Queensberry give these kind of non-title fights between top contenders over there. What are your thoughts, Joe, about that? Go for it.
Well, I think they do a good job. I think
Yeah.
they do a good job of promoting over there, and we've always said that when we look at domestic level fights, and this isn't really a domestic level fight, but you could argue it has a little bit of that element to it, right?
Mm.
Because it's not a final eliminator. It's not a mandatory fight. This is basically like I said, a crossroads fight. So this fight has been promoted phenomenally. And when we look at domestic level fights over in the UK, Great Britain, particularly, you see that they get a lot of buzz behind them, and more often than not, they live up to the hype, right? As opposed to what we see over here for similar fights of the same magnitude that this fight particularly is. So I've always been a fan of these type of fights. I've always been a fan of how the UK and Matchroom particularly, and even Frank Warren's Queensberry promotes these types of fights. And I appreciate the amount of attention and buzz that they get behind them. So yeah, I think this is going to be a great fight. I think people are going to love this fight, and I have to, as I said, commend how Matchroom promoted this fight, and in full credit to the fighters as well, because they've done some really good PR to make this fight intriguing for a lot of the fans.
There you go. I'm going to bring in the one, the only, our senior correspondent from Down Under.
Missed you, man.
Some call it New Zealand. Some call it Australia's
Missed
11th
you.
territory. I knew he was coming, so I wore this. Check it out. I knew he was coming. I knew he'd make an appearance. I knew that he was probably licking his wounds after Auckland FC's performance in the FIFA World Club Cup. They did get that one win at the end, which was a little shocking, but boy, did they take a beating the first two games, Lil Benny. What was the interest in the FIFA World Club Cup over there down under?
Nah, not really. I can't even remember the last time New Zealand was in a World Cup.
It was
Australia does.
Auckland FC. Auckland FC.
Australia does. They're pretty good at soccer. But anyway, Maestro, you need to go to California and visit Manny, because we're always getting what's his name? Who's that guy reporting? What's his name?
Ellie Sekback.
Ellie Ballback. Ellie Ballback.
Yeah, we need a diverse reporting there in California. We need to hear your voice, And Manny lets everyone in. Like there's 300-400 people every day whenever he runs.
Yeah.
Little Penny, let me ask you a question. Do you like Ellie Ballsack's videos?
Ellie Ballsack. Oh yeah, they're all right. Like,
come on.
I don't mind. Look, he hustles, man.
I'd rather listen to you than listen to Ellie Ballsack.
I don't look. He even goes to the airport, man, and waits for Manny. Like,
is that something to be proud of?
Basically, he's TMZ, is what you're saying.
Basically, he's a groupie. Okay.
And he always has he always puts like on when you post that video on YouTube. What is that called? Like
the short.
No.
The logo.
Yeah, the logo. He always has it where like it's a beautiful woman next to Manny with big boobs. Like so that for the clicks, you know what I mean? So it's like, and he always has it like on a, and he interviews them afterwards. Say, hey, who do you think is gonna win the fight? The girls there with the big boobs, they don't even know who his opponent is. It's like they're just there for they've got their own YouTube channel there as well.
Love the questions he asks. Hey Manny, what's your favorite rap song?
Ellie does the same with Tank Davis. LOL. Yeah, he absolutely does.
Hey, I love that. Shout out to that Mexican guy who Manny tried to dap him, and he tried to size him up, and then Manny was like, "Ooh, who's this guy?" I was like, it was hilarious, man. That everyone started laughing because he's
I didn't see that. So
you should watch it.
It sounds
hilarious,
Penny, that you're getting a little bit more excited about the big fight later this month.
Hey, the card is
with
also good.
Mario Barrios, huh?
The non-pay-per-view card, which is for free on YouTube, it's
Yeah,
got Mark Magsayo and Gary Russell Jr. and it's also got Manny Pacquiao's son.
Magsayo Russell Jr. too.
No. It's separate bouts. Separate bouts.
Oh, because I was about to say Joe was in a heated, controversial debate about Gary Russell Jr.
Oh, remember
around
that?
that
Yeah,
fight. I mean,
That
it's
idiot,
on the non-pay-per-view
idiot
card.
yeah, I mean, I don't know if you remember, but Gary Russell said he had a serious injury going into the fight that he hid from the doctors. And my whole take on that was that if he had that injury, he shouldn't have been allowed to fight. He should have
That's right.
disclosed it to the
Yeah.
doctors. And I know Joe agreed with that one
Then
too.
we had an idiot telling us that it was okay for someone to go into a fight knowingly with a torn shoulder injury, torn ligament in the shoulder.
Well, Manny did that. Manny did that against Floyd.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyways, long story short, that would be an interesting matchup. We haven't seen Gary for a while, but there you go. Look, as the fight approaches, I think more and more people are going to get excited about that fight. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of money isn't put on Manny. You know, in a few days. I mean, it's gonna be a massive dump of cash in Vegas, don't you think, Joe? I mean, Vegas is going to make a shit ton. People are just
Absolutely.
going to be rolling up, dumping all kind of big bread on Manny by knockout. You know, Manny for the win.
Hey,
Manny.
Hey, Master, once they start seeing Manny at Mandalay Bay at the casinos, everyone will start putting money to him for some odd reason.
Yeah, Manny's a cash cow. I just wish he could keep some of that money for himself. Apparently, he gives it all away. So
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, because because Manny doesn't live in a gated area. He
Yeah.
lives where he used to live, and because there's a lot of poor people near his radius, people just go there to his house to get money. And so because Manny doesn't want him there, and he wants to get rid of him, he just gives them money so they can go away.
oh wow, yeah.
And then they keep coming back. It's just like
Well,
so
and
Jinky-
then he had to fund his campaign too out there in the
Oh,
Philippines.
that's
Multiple
super,
campaigns, and those are expensive.
that's super
because,
expensive.
from what I understand, the Philippines runs a lot like a patronage society. So people just assume that their politicians should just buy them things and give them cash payments for votes. So,
Oh yeah.
you know,
If you want to run for senator, governor, or vice president, or president, dude, you have to shell out some money because you have to buy. Yeah, because the opponent is giving money to the voters, you have to do the same thing because they're not going to vote for you. Even if they like you, they like your policies. But if you're not going to give them money, they won't vote for you.
yeah,
You know
yeah.
that is shaping up to be
Great card.
a great card, and I only see 4 fights listed on BoxRec for that.
What are the
event
4
so
fights
far.
you see there, Joe?
Sebastian Fondor, Tim Tszyu, as Little Penny just mentioned.
I'm excited about that one.
Isaac Cruz versus Angel Fierro, which is another good fight,
Mm-hmm.
and Brandon Figueroa versus Joette Gonzalez, which style wise
That's a really good fight too.
should make up to be a good fight as well. So
Yeah.
these are all solid fights, man. So
Oh,
far.
yeah.
I reckon that Fundora Tim Tszyu is going to be I reckon that will steal the show.
Yeah,
Well, that's gonna be on
I'm
the
pulling for
free-
Tim Tszyu. I hope Tim Tszyu wins that fight.
That's going to be. I feel bad for Tim Tszyu for what happened to him last year.
Yeah,
to
that
be
was
honest.
bad.
It was a
That was
travesty
bad.
there. I don't know how anybody could be a doctor and operate that way, like a physician, and say, yeah, he's good. Yeah, he's got another 6 rounds in him. Like, what?
I'll take it to the grave. His corner should have found a way for that fight to go to the scorecards. They should have pushed.
Found a way. All they had to see was, doctor, do you not see what I see? Do you not see?
You know what if I was in that corner,
this
Maestro,
cash? Like, what?
if I was in that corner, or you or I were in that corner, and I don't want to speak for you, but let me just ask you: wouldn't you have said, "I can't stop the bleeding"?
Yeah, I can't stop the
There's no
bleeding.
way I can stop the bleeding.
There's
This
no way I
keeps
can
going
stop
into
the
his
bleeding.
this keeps going into his eyes. He's not going to say I can't see because he's too proud.
But Joe,
You need to pull him out of
Honestly,
it.
Tim is lucky he didn't get knocked out because of the fact that he couldn't see. I mean,
If you look at that Little Penny before you even respond, I'm going to just interrupt you briefly. I apologize. you could clearly see that blood was gushing, covering both of his eyes. That was essentially fighting blindfolded.
It was a crimson mask.
In my opinion, that was because of where that cut was, right? The blood flowing in both eyes, not just one, both eyes was excessive. Go ahead, little
If
man.
you actually watch that fight, Tim did say to them, "Don't stop that fight." Had the corner stopped that fight, I think Tim would have fired him. Kind of
Well,
like what Deontay Wilder did
you
to his
know,
corner when they stopped the fight.
but here's the thing: if you're a trainer, if you're the coach, and if a fighter's gonna fire you for that, then maybe you're not with the right fighter, because the fighter's got to respect his coach. The fighter's got to respect the opinion of the person who's preparing him for battle and who he's entrusted to work the corner. I've heard another trainer say that he didn't stop fights because he was worried about being fired afterwards. I
Robert
mean,
Garcia.
yeah,
Maestro, I agree with you.
I don't know. Like, I would be
Robert Gar-
embarrassed. I would be embarrassed to say that.
Antonio Margarito, when he fought Manny Pacquiao, his eye was the tissue on his eye was fucking flapping, literally flapping. And Robert Garcia said, "Well, I was afraid that he was going to kill me if I stopped that fight." This was the same guy that stopped Mikey Garcia when Mikey Garcia broke his nose in that fight, and it went to the scorecards.
But Joe,
Right?
I agree, Maestro. I agree with you, right? That he should respect his corner. Unfortunately, we don't live in that world anymore. It's the boxers now that are in charge, both training, health and conditioning, when they train. It's only the ones that are like, the ones that are starting up who are not in charge. Once they become a champion, they're in charge. It's not kind of like when Roy Jones kind of like started this, where once he became champion, he fired his father. Same thing with Shane Mosley. Once he became a champion, fired him. You know what I mean? Because they want to be treated as champions. They no longer want to be treated as like little boys. And in today's society, the boxers are now in charge. Even when it comes to negotiations, they don't even need promoters anymore now. Really, they're just going on their own.
I think you probably mean they don't really need managers, but I would definitely say they need. I mean, you benefit if you're Jack Catterall from having Eddie Hearn promoting this fight. So, talk to me about this fight, Lil Penny. It's Jack Catterall coming off of a loss. It's an undefeated Harlam Eubank trying to break in to the top tier of the 140-pound division, and dare I say, trying to break away from the shadow of his older cousin, Chris Eubank Jr. What are your thoughts on this fight, and how do you see things playing out later today from out there at the AO Arena in Manchester?
I've seen Catterall a few times. Always gives out a stinker kind of a fight. I hope this time it won't, because he's gone through a bit of damage. Usually, when people go through a bit of damage, they start slowing down. Hopefully, he throws some punches. He doesn't hold. To be honest with you, I haven't seen the other Eubank Jr. fight at all. But we when it comes to British fights, their local fights are really exciting. People do come and see it because the venue is held probably in the vicinity of their hometown. Unlike in America, where they always hold those fights in Vegas or in Atlantic City, because sometimes when you put fights in Philadelphia, where for example Boots is, people are gonna come. People are supporting you. Kind of like with Gamboa, Yorkis Gamboa. I never understood why he didn't fight in Florida, because that's where all the Cubans are. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the reason why the local fights in America don't bring in the crowds. Is because
To
like
answer that question and then continue, Bob Arum actually answered it, and he said many years ago that the Cubans that live in Miami are mostly white Cubans, and they're pretty racist, and they don't support black Cubans. So that's what Bob Arum said. I would probably tend to agree with that, to be honest with you. There's a different, like, there have been migratory ships from the island to Florida, and the first wave were the people who had their plantations and mansions and other things taken from them by Fidel Castro. So the more recent migrants have have also been a kind of mix of kind of more middle income and lower income Cubans, including a wave of black boxers. But according to Bob Arum, they never really could get the white Cubans with the money and the influence and the power in Miami to support the black Cubans that were more recent arrivals. But go for it.
Hey, Maestro, you're from DR, right?
No,
You're
no,
from
no, no,
DR.
no, 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 no. My family's from a bunch of different countries, but my mom was born in what was then British Honduras. Her father was from Mexico. Her mom was from Honduras, British Honduras, and my
Because I just heard that
Mexican
you.
granddad actually immigrated to his family immigrated to Mexico from Cuba. So
Because I hope you have
originally
your
Jamaica.
American citizenship. Because Julio Cesar Chavez just got
You-
deported.
U.S. citizenship. I'm actually going to go to that topic next because I want your opinion on it. I'm sure you're going to have some things to say.
Wait, little Penny.
Hey,
What
Jake
are
Paul's
you
not.
saying? What are you saying? You're putting a bullseye on Maestro's back? What do you want?
No.
Ice?
Hey,
You're saying Ice should come pick up
Hey, Beebs.
Maestro? This
Hey,
guy's full fledged.
Beebs.
Please.
Oh,
Hey,
hold
Beebs.
on. You continue, Joe, and I'll be right back. Go for it.
Yeah.
Hey, Beebs, hold on a second. Hey, Beebs, you know Jake Paul, that money that he's giving to Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., it was in escrow. He was about to be, the bank was about to transfer it to his bank account, but after he got deported, Jake Paul canceled that escrow, and now Jake Paul has an excuse to keep his money.
Oh, that's a scumbag move, man. Come on. What a scumbag move that is. Bro, at least pay him the money for the fucking fight. What are you doing now? Come on.
Yeah, he should pay him.
He should
He did fight the last 3 rounds. He didn't fight the first 9 rounds.
Well, I guess Chavez Jr. did overstay his visa, and he did apparently lie on a green card application, and we can only speculate what he lied about, because when you do fill out that application, they do ask you a series of questions, and one of those questions would be, have you ever been arrested? Have you ever been convicted of a crime? And apparently he has been arrested before. He has been convicted of crimes before, and
Including in the United States.
Yeah, we'll let Maestro kind of.
Yeah, I'll bring it in, but just so that Penny doesn't have to feel concerned or worried, I'm good in the UK. Okay, I'm very good in the UK. I'm also very good here in the USA. So we're good. We're good on Maestro.
You see what you did? You
Here.
made Maestro so scared with that accusation, he had to validate himself. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?
Ice.
So here we go. Without any further ado,
next will be trying to say I should get shipped to Lebanon or something.
Without any further ado, we got Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Let's have a look. Let's have a listen. Here we go.
Breaking news at 11:30. Mexican boxer Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. has been arrested by ICE after his fight with Jake Paul over the weekend. Officials say that Chavez is an undocumented immigrant with alleged Sinaloa cartel ties. They say that he was taken into custody yesterday and is being processed for expedited removal. He faces an active arrest warrant in Mexico tied to organized crime and weapons trafficking. Federal officials releasing the photo along with a statement that reads in part, quote, under President Trump, no one is above the law, including world-famous athletes.
And there you have it. Nobody's above the law, including world-famous athletes. Looks like the equivalent of Ellie Sekback out there in Mexico caught up with Chavez Sr. Let's have a look. Let's have a listen. This is it here. Here we go.
Pues siempre ha sido ya todo dar. A ver. A ver, escuchen lo que le voy a decir. Sí, señor. Ya di el comunicado, por favor. Ahorita no puedo hablar.
So he's like, excuse me, please wait. Right now, I can't really talk about this.
La verdad, no me vayan a hacer preguntas. Por favor, ya mi hijo se comunicó con su abogado y todo.
My son has communicated with his lawyer and everything.
y todo va a estar en manos de las autoridades, claro,
And everything will be in the hands of the authorities.
autoridades.
Siempre estaba apoyando a su hijo, siempre sabemos que al pie del cañón
Sí,
con
sí,
él,
sí, sí.
esta vez
Y
creo que
siempre,
no es la-
They're asking if he's going to help his son.
siempre lo voy a apoyar.
And he's saying, yes, I'll always help him.
Y todo se va a arreglar primeramente Dios. Todo es una
And everything is pretty much in the hands of God.
confusión. Mi hijo está, todo el mundo lo conoce, es un boxeador, ¿me entiendes? Que ha tenido
My son is everyone knows him. He's a boxer.
sus desaciertos, que cuando andaba mal hablaba mucho a muchas cosas, ¿me entiendes?
When he's
Somos
doing,
amigos, todo el
when
mundo
he's
como
doing bad, a lot of people are talking a lot of things.
siempre, todo el mundo lo sabe, ¿me entiendes? Eso no es
Everyone
un secreto a voces, pero de ahí, de que mi hijo esté involucrado en cosas ilícitas, la verdad. ¿Está en México, señor? No, todavía no.
But he said that the people saying that my son is involved in illicit things. It was interesting there because it kind of got cut off his answer. Let's go back here.
En cosas ilícitas, la verdad.
He said that the fact that my son is involved in illegal things, the truth is, and then this stupid reporter cuts him off without letting him finish his sentence.
No, todavía no.
And then that's pretty much it. So we didn't really get much out of Chavez there other than he's supporting his son, which you would assume that he would do as a father. But yeah, I can't imagine that this is the greatest moment right now for Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. What are your thoughts, Joe?
I have to feel for the father here. Obviously, you can tell he really does love his son, and he's very supportive of his son. You see in a lot of other situations where similar situations arise with other parents, they will distance themselves sometimes from their children, saying, "Well, I didn't teach him this. This isn't something that I condone. This guy, my son or my daughter strayed off path and went down the wrong path here, and I can't condone this behavior." But he's backing him and supporting him to the end, and you got to give him credit for that, because that's not always the case.
Some serious charges he's facing down there in Mexico, and it's very interesting to me how people interject their own political views into the matter, and I guess they're upset that President Trump is, or at least his administration is making statements about Chavez and how no one is above the law. And it's look, I love Mexico. My grandfather, as I just mentioned a few minutes ago, was Mexican. My family immigrated to Mexico a few generations ago, and then later on, made their way ending up here in the United States. But at the end of the day, this was a request of the Mexican government. He had Mexican arrest warrants for Mexican charges for crimes that occurred in Mexico. And the president of Mexico herself, Claudia Sheinbaum, is on record saying that they want him processed to Mexico as soon as possible to face justice in Mexico and serve time in Mexico. So
What's the charge?
I don't transporting guns and explosives and drugs. So I don't quite understand in this case. Like a lot of the stuff I've actually seen now on social media, blaming the U.S. government for this, and I mean, you can blame the U.S. government for various things. I don't see how you could blame the U.S. government for this particular thing.
Well,
Joe, what are your thoughts?
The only thing is this. So he overstayed a visa, apparently. He lied on a green card application.
Yeah.
But he must have been in the country for a couple years now, right? Even, so now
he was living and training in the United States for this
How long has he been living in the United States?
I believe since 2022.
Okay, so he's been in the country
at least early 2023.
So he's been in the country for what, 3 years now?
Yeah.
And now they're pulling this out against him. So you have to ask yourself, why now? You know what I mean? I'm not saying that the charges, I don't know about the charges. I don't know. I mean, obviously, if the Mexican president wants to extradite him back to Mexico and there's a warrant out for his arrest. That's some serious stuff. My question is, why now after 3 years?
Well, I maybe we'll get some answers from this video here. Luckily, I won't have to do the interpretation here because it's already being done. But let's have a look. Let's have a listen. Here we go. This is the report specifically about the Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum.
Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum says boxer Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. could serve time on weapons and drug trafficking charges in Mexico after he is deported from the U.S. Chavez was arrested by ICE yesterday in Studio City, days after fighting Jake Paul in a highly publicized match in Anaheim. The Department of Homeland Security says Chavez overstayed his visa and lied on a green card application. U.S. officials also believe he has ties to the Sinaloa cartel. Mexico's Attorney General says Chavez is wanted on weapons and drug trafficking charges. Chavez's attorney has called the allegations outrageous.
Well, they didn't actually go to her statements because he is out there talking about it. But I don't know if you guys want to all of that right now. I don't really see that as necessary.
So
yeah.
Chavez now is like an arms dealer? What? That doesn't make sense.
No one said he was dealing arms, but I don't know what his financial circumstances are. Like, he may have been used as some kind of a mule because he was coming back and forth between Mexico and the United States.
Well, here's the thing, Little Penny. Here's the thing, Little Penny. As Maestro said, this is coming from Mexico. The Mexican president herself is making these claims, and she's involved with this. I mean, he's being extradited, right? Because of this. So again, people are going to look at this and say, "Oh, this is Trump going over the top, being crazy again." Because once again, it always falls back to the ideology of people, not what they're actually looking at. Just like the Amin Khalif thing, we've already talked about that, and I'm not going to rehash that. But look at the facts. Look at what actually is going on, and stop deferring to your ideology in order to decide which side of something that you're going to be on. And if all of these things are being reported, then this is coming from Mexico. This is not coming from the United States. If Mexico is asking for him to be deported so they can try him in a court of law, then that's Mexico.
I mean, also, Joe, doesn't it look bad for Mexico if, like, you have warrants out for a guy's arrest and then he's in a high-profile bout
well, that's the thing.
Everyone's talking about, and then you just sit back and do nothing? I think the fact that he fought in such a big event against Jake Paul, I mean, at that point, the Mexican government has to start making some demands.
Well, once again,
it's obvious that he's in the United States.
Yeah,
and they're going to have to make a request to the U.S. government to have him sent back.
But Marshall, why didn't they ask for the extradition before the fight? Why is it after? They could have.
I guess,
look, governments prioritize things all the time. So
I believe Chavez Jr. also has been convicted of drunk driving here in the United States. He's also been convicted of possession of narcotics here in the United States. So he does have a record here.
So here I do have Sheinbaum here, and I guess I'll have to do some interpreting.
Is she even Mexican?
Pardon me?
Is she even Mexican?
She's the Mexican president. What do you mean, is she even Mexican?
That surname doesn't sound like Mexican to me.
She's Jewish, but they have a lot of Jewish people in Mexico.
Okay.
I mean, not every Mexican has a Spanish surname, Little Penny, just to let you know. Mexico had an Irish president not that long ago when George W. Bush was president. I'm sure you remember Vicente Fox. Remember? Or maybe you don't. Yeah, well, look him up. Here we go.
I'm giving this guy a physics lesson.
Here's Claudia Sheinbaum. Here we go.
Salió la noticia. Nos comunicamos con la fiscalía. Y el fiscal me dijo sí tiene una...
it came out in the news, and we spoke to pretty much the Attorney General.
Orden de aprehensión en México.
And there were warrants in Mexico.
Es una orden de aprehensión que incluso inicia la carpeta de investigación en 2019.
Including investigations going back to 2019.
Se otorga la orden de aprehensión por parte de un juez hasta 2023.
And another one from a judge, a warrant that goes back to 2023.
Informaron el día de hoy en el gabinete es que la mayoría del tiempo estaba ya en los Estados Unidos.
And the majority of time he's been in the United States.
Entonces, en parte la detención pues tiene que ver con la orden de aprehensión que hay en México. Y se
So
espera.
a big part of the detention has to do with the warrants in Mexico. And I think what she's alluding to there is what Joe said, that the other part is probably for crimes committed in the United States and for lying on the permanent residency application. So we can circle back to this in a bit, maybe another video, but it was newsworthy, I think, and worthwhile of discussion. So thank you to people in the chat bringing it up, and you as well, Lil Penny. That is, though, our number one. Our number two, we're going to be talking the return of the Gypsy King, Tyson Fury, potentially against Usyk, potentially against Joshua. I'm also going to talk to Joe and ask Joe about the big news related to his guy, David Benavidez, potentially taking on Anthony Yard. Looks like that is signed, sealed, and delivered with love.
It is.
And I'm also going to talk about my thoughts so far. We're going to go into a deeper dive on this next week about the big card taking place, Ring 3, here in New York City, featuring Edgar Berlanga against Hamza Shiraz and Shakur Stevenson against William El Camarón Zepeda and other fighters, including Puello and Matias and even David Morrell Jr. So I'm looking forward to hour number two. I hope all of you will come over and join us for hour number two. And yeah, we got an hour number two lined up and ready to go. So join us over there. I will drop the link to hour number two here in the chat. It's also in the description to the video. This video, if you're watching on demand, you can check out hour number two by clicking the link in the description box. Before you get out of here, make sure you hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Okay, and also make sure you check out the flagship show on this channel, the Showstopper, the main event. It's Ringside Reporter Live, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time, 11 p.m. out there in the UK with Joe and Eric Lorta every Sunday night. That's tomorrow, so make sure you check that out live. Join us for hour number two. We'll see you over there, and yeah, see you in a moment.